Pokémon. My favorite video game franchise. I have been obsessed with it ever since I was a kid. From the movies, to the anime, to the cards, the Pokémon themselves, and of course, the games. Funnily enough, my actual first video game contact with Pokémon was not with any other mainline games. It was actually with Pokémon Dash for the Nintendo DS. And yeah, there isn't much to talk about that one. But anyways, my actual first Pokémon game was Pokémon Diamond and Pearl for the Nintendo DS. It wasn't even a true copy, mind you. Original Nintendo games here in the land of football, samba, and questionable journalism tend to be a bit pricey, so it meant I had no way to play the game online or even access some of the events later released by Nintendo. Even with all of that, I have incredibly fond memories of those times. There is something very soothing about the entire Sinnoh region and its themes. I wouldn't necessarily call it the best Pokemon gen there is, but that's a topic for another video. Today, however, I like to talk about a topic that has frankly been done a million times by now, but I thought it was my own time to complain about it, so here we are. That topic being Pokémon Sword and Shield. Now, for those of you who don't know, I recently began to replay the game on my livestream over here on YouTube, and yeah, the games still suck, but replaying them did give me a higher appreciation towards the whole thing. And by that I mean, experiencing the game through a thick layer of sarcasm and cynicism really enhances the whole experience for some reason. Like whenever Hop starts talking, I can't help but think to myself, yes Hop, your brother is very strong, isn't he? And oh, what's that? Yes, you know everything about type matchups, don't you? Oh, don't worry Hop, I'm sure you'll beat me next time we fight, right? Like if these were your favorite Pokemon games, I honestly wouldn't judge you that much. Pokemon Sword and Shield has a lot of ups and downs, but even then, it's very difficult to actually screw up a Pokemon game because the solid base mechanic is actually very good on its own. I mean, you really have to go out of your way to make a Pokemon game boring. And up until now, Game Freak has never done that. Oh wait, yes they did. But Sword and Shield on its own doesn't really have that issue. The soundtrack is great, the DLC adds a lot of replay value, raid battles are pretty cool. Overall, it's a decent experience for a Pokemon game. But my god, do I just love making fun of this game. Because for everything it does right, it does at least two other things wrong. So I thought to myself, since I like complaining about it so much, why not turn that into content? And I know exactly where to begin with. What do you mean having enough time to iron out any flaws or make assets now look like they're from a PS2 game? Who needs that? 1 year is plenty. See? So, for a bit of context, Pokemon games aren't actually made in the span of a year from one another, despite what it may look like. Pokemon Sword and Shield were actually developed in the span of a little less than 2 years, which is not much better, granted. But then again, considering how Japanese working culture is, I imagine that working for Game Freak must be something along the lines of, you either get this shit done in the next 5 business days or I'll make sure your family will only get to see you in Christmas. Better yet, fuck Christmas. We'll tie you up to the keyboard and use your expired body as a concept for another ghost Pokemon. That's not to say that Game Freak is innocent when it comes to its development cycles, but I think it would be unfair to just throw them under the bus like that with no background. And yes, there are moments in the game that look pretty good, but let's be honest with ourselves here, being inconsistent is not something to be proud of. Let's see, that was it for development, so what should I complain about now? Oh, I know! I have nothing to complain about the new Pokemon designs, and if you disagree with me, you're objectively wrong and I just wanted you to know that. Next! Oh, the characters. How could I forget about the characters? Or rather, how I wish I could forget about the characters. At the very least, I can't say that they're not memorable. I don't remember a single name from X and Y, but I remember the name of all of these characters. But that's when it comes to like the main characters that appear in the story. As for side characters, you know, like the gym leader, Professor Magnolia, or, well, pretty much everybody that appears in the game but doesn't really have a story arc of their own, I like them. I think they're pretty cool. They don't overstay their welcome. And then there's these three assholes. Let's go over them one by one, okay? First of all, why do people like Bede? Like, I understand he changes a little during the story, but I feel like he just changes from one shade of being an asshole to another shade of being an asshole. I think it's pretty cool that he becomes like the successor of the fairy type gym leader, but since we didn't get Pokemon Gun, we don't really get to see that happening. Which is a shame because I think it's pretty cool that between Pokemon Black and White 1 and 2, Cherim actually becomes a gym leader. But those are mostly my feelings towards Bede. Same thing can't be said towards this crybaby over here. Seriously, whose idea it was to give Hop depression? Like, I get it, each character has their own personality traits that contrast with one another. He's an asshole, she's an angel, and, well, he's depressed for some reason. Like, at the beginning of the game, he's so full of energy, so happy about everything. But as the game progresses and you beat him again and again and again, you can't help but feeling bad for him. It's cute that he decides to become a Pokemon professor in the end. I think that's actually good character development. But why did they have to put that like in the last part of the game and not like maybe halfway through there so you can actually see the character not being depressed the whole time? Again, it's a very weird take on something that didn't need to be like that. But an even worse take on a character is what they did to this guy's brother. Oh, pardon me. I mean the unbeatable champion of the Galar region. Leon wishes he was Cynthia so badly. And I absolutely mean that, not just in a joke by the way. People are terrified of Cynthia, and guess what? No one ever mentions she's the champion of the region. And I don't know in which part Game Freak got confused, but they seem to have the impression that the more you say a certain character is unbeatable, the more you're going to expect him to be unbeatable. And you know, to some degree you can actually build hype around the character, but there's also a point where that circles back into making everything disappointing because it will never live up to your expectations. Which is exactly the problem Leon has. His actual fight isn't even that bad, but because the game is so dead set on making him this monster of a trainer, when you do get to fight him, he just feels... I'm not even gonna mention the fact that his ace Pokemon is Charizard, okay? I like Charizard, okay? I don't hate him, but god, Game Freak, let it go! Gen 1 was 20 years ago! Oh, but how silly of me. How can I ever mention Leon without even covering his best buddy in the whole world? And, what was his name again? Hello? Leon, my boy! Oh, hey, Chairman Rose, what's up? How can the #1 champion of the Galar region help you? Leon, I need to kill everybody! What? Why? Because in 1,000 years we'll have an energy crisis. What? Also, I'm transmitting this live in television so everyone can hear me. Chairman, are you high? Yes, by the way, I fucked up. Come here and bring your useless brother with you. Jesus Christ, what happened? Like, did the guy who wrote the plot for Pokemon Black and White got shot or something? Was he out of town? Did he fuck anyone else's wife and got cut out of production? Honestly, making fun of Chairman Rose at this point is nothing short of overkill. The guy is clearly the worst Pokemon villain we've ever gotten, and besides his theme, there are very little things I can even praise him for. So much so that I won't say a single word about him anymore. But I didn't say anything about making a montage about him. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Let's see here. Complain about the story, the characters, the development, leave the Pokemon alone. Yeah, that's good enough. Revisiting the game did change my opinions on it a little, but it also reinforced my idea that it's a mediocre game that becomes marginally good because Pokemon are present in it, and had any other game been given the same treatment, no one would play it. But hey, at least there is one silver lining to all of this, and it's that the games that followed Sword and Shield were actually pretty fun. Legends Arceus was incredible, Scarlet and Violet were pretty fun, and come on, it's not like Game Freak would purposely make the games look even uglier than— oh my god, what the fuck!